Radio.
Hello and welcome to Crypto-Current, the only podcast to bring you beginner and advanced knowledge of cryptocurrency and blockchain, analyses of cryptocurrency markets, and discussions on growing a business within the crypto space. Stay tuned and stay cryptocurrent.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Crypto-Current. Your host here, Richard Carthon, and today got a special guest with us. I was able to meet this contact, so back in the earlier conversation / podcast with Raina with Gilded, really great conversation, and she was able to introduce me to this gentleman that we have on the podcast today, and he is working on a ton of amazing things in the crypto world. He is an attorney at law, and without further ado, Mr. Alex Liu, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Having me, Richard.
Of course, man. So as I ask everyone who comes on the show, just for a kickoff, tell us a little bit about yourself, to give us some background.
Okay, so I attended Tulane Law School and graduated with my JD in 2011. And immediately right after, I took the Louisiana bar exam, passed it, and been practicing law since 2011. And I also have my bar license from the state of Missouri, so I practice both common law and civil law. And I originally first started as a public defender here in New Orleans, and then did that for about 2.5 years, and then went into the corporate world, became General Counsel for a big restaurant group in town. And then just this year, I decided to branch off and become just really a blockchain and fintech consulting firm, and started my own firm and just kind of been consulting projects here and there.
That's awesome, man. Like, just the fact that you were able to use all your experience in the law space and then turn into your own consulting and to work with a lot of cool projects, that's unique in itself. But then on the flip side of it, like, I know that's like probably how you even got your injection into the crypto space and are now getting to work with a lot of different crypto projects. So can you give us a little bit of background on how did you even get into cryptocurrency?
Yeah, so I actually started researching just cryptocurrencies in general about 2015, when I just saw an article on Wired about mining, and I was very intrigued that these people, and I think from my memory, it was an article about turning energy into money. And I was just like, this is a very strange and unique concept. So I started looking into it, and it was all about Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I just, followed up with it. And then finally in early 2016, I took the plunge and bought a few video cards to mine Ethereum. And that is what introduced me into the cryptocurrency world. And ever since then, this has been cryptocurrencies in general, and have been sort of my hobby, where, when I did have a job, I would come home and at night just study and, read the news articles and just follow the boards, especially Reddit, to see what's going on in the cryptocurrency world, and especially blockchain, and what sort of new technologies are being developed. And after, once I started mining Ethereum in 2016, that's kind of where I really got serious about cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, and it's a great way of to get into it, right? Reading an article and then finding ways to what people mining and making money from energy, like it's wild, right? And so from there, you go down the rabbit hole, you're starting to learn all this new stuff about cryptocurrency, and now you're getting deeper into the space. So tell us a little bit about Tezos. So what is Tezos, and like, how did you get involved with it?
Okay, so Tezos is we call it a liquid proof of stake sort of cryptocurrency, and it's a self-amending cryptocurrency where all of any sort of new code updates or anything that involves the blockchain can be pushed out without the need of having a hard fork. Like, some people call it a soft fork, but basically with Tezos, the biggest thing is that there will, any sort of cryptocurrency can be forked, but in terms of Tezos, there will never be an official fork of Tezos just because it's a self-amending cryptocurrency, and having it being a liquid proof of stake instead of proof of work, it basically allows on-chain governance, and you can inject any sort of new code to make the blockchain better, and all the node validators can, they will update their code on the computers, and there will never be a need for any sort of hard fork or fork in general.
Which is extremely powerful. And before you go into a little bit of deeper explanation, for our listeners who don't necessarily understand what a fork is, can you give a brief description and an example?
Yeah, so a fork is really where you have a change in the blockchain's code, where if you want to carry on the legacy of that sort of cryptocurrency, to carry on the same code and to be on that chain, then you need to update that code. And one of the most recent, well, I wouldn't say most recent, but one of the most famous examples of what a fork is when you had the Bitcoin, Bitcoin, the gold standard here. You had people you had two factions, where one faction believed that they didn't want to inject this new code that Bitcoin is currently running on, and so they forked it, and they called themselves Bitcoin Cash. And so you have two separate blockchains that are running. You have Bitcoin and then Bitcoin Cash blockchains, which are two separate cryptocurrencies are running on two different types of code.
Gotcha. Yeah, great example. And Bitcoin Cash was actually the first thought that I had. Of course, you have Ethereum Classic. You have a ton of forks that have happened off of plenty of blockchains. But thank you for that example. And diving back into Tezos, so there's no need for a hard fork. They can do soft forks, and it helps with consolidating the blockchain. So as you start to look at this, you're like, wow, this is very unique. How did you either start to learn more about it, or how did you get more involved with what was going on with it?
So I really started looking into Tezos around 2017, when we were going through the quote unquote bull market, when Bitcoin prices touched about $19,000. You started seeing a lot of news and social media ads for ICOs, or initial coin offerings. And in one of the initial coin offerings was for this new cryptocurrency called Tezos. And I was very interested because I saw it was basically backed by a bunch of what we call the OG community, or the quote unquote original gangster communities, all the old vanguards of that held Bitcoin from the beginning. They looked at the white paper and the project and started promoting it and saying, we are a big believer of Tezos and what they're trying to do. And so that kind of piqued my interest. And at that, what separates Tezos during this whole 2017 ICO boom was Tezos didn't really do an ICO. They were kind of doing a lot of foresight in terms of trying to predict and read what the SEC might do. So they decided to go away from the ICO route and do a fundraiser route, where you donated money and then you were given some back for your donation. And I think the biggest selling point of Tezos, when I first read its white paper, was this concept of on-chain governance, and how all stakeholders, anyone holding the Tezos, can and will decide the future of the blockchain and the direction the blockchain will go. And I think that was pretty much my biggest selling point of Tezos, what made me a full believer of the project.
Right. And so with the governments that you would have on, I see that there is something called the Tezos Common Foundation. So can you tell us a little bit about what that is and how you got involved?
Yeah, so Tezos Common Foundation is a nonprofit foundation, and we're a separate entity from the actual Tezos Foundation, which is an entity founded in Zug, Switzerland, and they hold the community war chest from the fundraiser, and they issue out grants and any sort of funding that will further the blockchain. But Tezos Commons Foundation is a nonprofit foundation from Utah, and basically it's a foundation promoting awareness and spreading the gospel of Tezos and teaching people about the blockchain, including organizing community and local meetup groups and providing them funding and certain swag to help promote Tezos in general. And how I got involved with them is they are really, Tezos Commons Foundation has really done yeoman's work in terms of getting local group meetups going and also moderating and keeping Tezos community stakeholders informed of what's going on by, they do a lot of moderation of Reddit forums, Telegram groups, and on, one of the most used chat platforms is Riot Chat. And they do a lot of good work on there. And how I kind of got involved was I just reached out to them, and, I went to their website, looked at their bylaws and their mission, and totally fell in love with the group and just reached out to them and told them, this is what I do for a living. I would like to help out any way I can. And since then, it's been in just kind of like a rocket or a moonshot growth in terms of my involvement with them. And really it started, what I was able to offer them at the beginning was just to write about the ongoing litigation with Tezos and informing the public of what's going on, because I saw that there was a big, for a good 3 or 4 month period, there was a sort of in the news cycle period, what we call FUD, being spread out there about litigation wise was just a lot of nonsense. And I told them, what I can do is I can try to quell a lot of that and set the record straight by telling people, this is what's going on with the litigation. This is what's going on. And, these are the possible trouble areas of the litigation. And these are the bright spots in the litigation, and, give them my legal opinion, what I think, the way the direction of the litigation is going. And, everything seems to be going smoothly, as opposed to what was being circulated online of all the FUD and all the misinformation about litigation, and saying that, at one point there was talks that, hey, the SEC's looking at Tezos and, thinking about, investigating and prosecuting Tezos for securities fraud and things like that. And so, with my legal background, I set a lot of the record straight by just doing basic legal groundwork of, doing some public records requests to the federal government. And, I posted, at no point did I hide any information that I received from public records requests. And, I told the public, this is what I did. This is what I got back from the federal government. You can make your own opinion. But if you want the TLDR, it means, my opinion is the government straight up told me, no, that stuff's not going on. And so, that was how I kind of started. And since then, just been involved with Tezos Commons, and including starting a local meetup here in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Wow. So super heavy involvement and extremely well-needed information on everything that's happening from the litigation standpoint. And I'm sure there's multiple things, and I have plenty of questions from a legal standpoint of what's going on in the crypto atmosphere. But what is something from the legal side and the legal world in the crypto space that you think a lot of people should be on the lookout for in the near future?
So one of the big things I've been kind of watching is you are starting to see more and more SEC involvement with the United States Security and Exchange Commission. They're starting to work their way forward and backwards. When I say they're working their way forward, is they're looking at new projects that haven't done, that haven't even reached out to them in terms of that they might be thinking about doing an initial coin offering or anything like that. And then you're starting to see the SEC kind of crack down on that. And then you're also starting to see them work kind of backwards, where they're going after projects that have done ICOs in 2017. And right now, one of the very polarizing and interesting cases that I'm keeping an eye on is really the SEC going after the Kin Foundation for what they call an illegal securities offering. And what the SEC is doing is they're prosecuting the claim in federal court and trying to get basically a judgment that says, that prevents Kin Foundation from operating or even selling on any sort of cryptocurrency exchange. And you're starting to see a lot more SEC action, especially with this front of more and more exchanges getting hacked. And then also, exchanges now, cryptocurrency exchanges in the US are getting more letters from the SEC, and they are doing more and more delisting of certain coins and tokens because they might fail what we call the Howey test of what might constitute as a security or not. And exchanges are being even more careful now, whereas if they do their own internal analysis of whether a certain coin or token might be considered a security, they'll take the safe route and not even list it or delist it from their exchange. And you're starting to see that with Bittrex, with Gemini, even Binance, the largest cryptocurrency exchange market is, I guess they said September 14th, I believe.
Yeah, they're about to shut all that down.
Yeah. So, they are getting spooked by U.S. regulators. And I think, it's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing that they are doing this, but it's a bad thing that this kind of creates a chilling effect where it's kind of closing the gate on certain cryptocurrencies that do have a valid purpose.
Right. And the biggest issue I see right now is first the educational piece of deciding what is a security and what are more than anything, what is a coin and what is a token. So when you look at a token, that is being seen more as security, whereas a coin is not, right? And so we got to just see like how the US is going to like regulate this stuff and like make a definitive decision on how they want to rule these things.
Yeah. And I think a big aspect in, that's kind of growing in this cryptocurrency sphere is what you're starting to see more and more as, people labeling it as an STO or security token offering, where they're packaging, potentially they're going to try to package, potentially actual stocks and real estate into tokens. And, the SEC has approved, I think it was TokenSoft, this company out of San Francisco. They, approved them for their first set of STO offerings. And that shows that the SEC is aware of what's going on, and they, are trying to, foster instead of inhibit growth. But then they also have to, do their own due diligence and make sure that there isn't a, widespread and rampant market of fraud, which is really prevalent in cryptocurrencies in general.
Definitely. Absolutely. I mean, you got to keep having your KYCs, your customers, and making sure like what is being invested in and at such a large rate is legitimate. But at the end of the day, as you look at the crypto market, the market cap is, right around $3 billion, maybe a little bit less. And, it's going to grow. It's going to get to, I strongly believe that we're going to see this be a multi-trillion-dollar market. So it's still at its infancy. But as institutional money starts to pour into this area, the SEC is absolutely going to keep just putting their fingers into this and just making sure that everything is as legit as possible. So it's only a matter of time. And I think that a lot of the institutional money is waiting to see how the SEC is going to handle this before they really start to make some major moves.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, when you talk about institutional money, and one thing that was very, very, very exciting to see from just this past week was that, Bach claimed that they got the green light from the SEC to start doing future derivatives for, cryptocurrencies. And then you also have Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, tweeted that he tweeted a statistic that said basically Coinbase custody is seeing per week an influx of up to $200 to $400 million by institutional investors. So this we're starting to really see a fast pace kind of growth, especially in the institutional side.
Absolutely, which is great. I think it's a good thing because as more money is being entered into it, as it's being brought into the spotlight from things like Libra and things like Backed-in, and you have companies like Starbucks, Whole Foods, and other places that are starting to accept Bitcoin, and everything that's about to happen with this trade war, the way that the yuan is starting to weaken. You're seeing a lot of foreign investment starting to see cryptocurrency, aka Bitcoin, with Bitcoin dominance being as high as it is, as a potential safe haven for their money. There's just so much happening in this space that I really see this as an exciting time for people who are not in it yet or are in it. There's going to be some really cool things that are happening in the next couple of months, especially definitely in the next couple of years. But I think in the next couple of months, we're going to see some major movement within the market. And with that being said, man, like I know that you're a part of Tezos and like you've been able to see a lot of different projects that are out there, but like what are some that are on your radar that you're really looking deeper into right now? Yeah.
Before I go into that, I just kind of want to back up about Tezos. And one of the things that I forgot to mention about, one of the greatest selling points of Tezos, besides the on-chain governance and making sure that the stakeholders are decide the future of the blockchain, is one of the things is with Tezos being a proof of stake cryptocurrency. What that allows and kind of separates Tezos from the whole field is what you can do with Tezos is you can stake your Tezos and delegate it to a node validator, what we call bakers, just kind of a pun to play on the mining aspect. But us node validators, we call it baking. And what you can do is if you say you only have 200 Tezos and it requires 8,000 Tezos to be a node validator, but if you only have 200, what you can do is you can delegate it to a baker to bake on your behalf. And when you delegate, you're only giving them the rights to bake on your Tezos, or however amount of Tezos you have. But at the same time, when you give them that right, you at all time maintain control of the private keys to the actual coins. And so at no point will you, unless your system gets hacked or something like that, at no point do you ever lose control of your Tezos. And that's kind of makes Tezos so appealing, is that, I can store my Tezos in cold storage on a Ledger Nano or a Trezor, and then in the same time, I can also delegate it, so I can be earning um, earning some Tezos from my delegation while having the full security of cold storage. So it's like having your cake and eating it too. But
Yeah, that's
sorry.
extreme. That is extremely powerful. Yeah, I just have to chime in and say that is very cool.
Yeah. So, but I just had to get that shill out because I absolutely think that's one of, when we were talking about security, that's one of the, biggest things that people look for is, hey, what sort of security can you run, especially keeping your private key safe? And, with Tezos, you can have your cake and eat it too. You can stake it while keeping it in cold storage. While, at any moment, it's also what we call liquid, where you can, if you wanted to move it to a market and sell it immediately, you can absolutely do that, within a couple of seconds too. So it's not static or locked up at any moment. You can move it at any, whenever you want. But back to, what projects, some of the current projects that I'm kind of excited on. One of the projects that I've been kind of keeping an eye on is Holochain, and their cryptocurrency symbol is HOT. And what they're it is a blockchain, but it isn't. And what they're creating is basically kind of like a decentralized network where you basically have two layers of sort of blockchain data, but it's not, it's a misnomer when I say blockchain data because it's not really blockchain, but it's kind of creating like a new sort of internet archive on top of having each person or each node each person running a node having their own set of blockchain history that gets compiled into the ultimate blockchain, which Holo isn't really a blockchain, but it is in a sense. And it's a real, I'm not doing it any justice by kind of, shortchanging it with this explanation, but I would highly recommend, people, if you have a moment, to take a look at it, because just the concept is so futuristic. And I've been to a few blockchain conferences out on the West Coast and that have met the team, and they're based out of Seattle. And, they are very active in development, and it's kind of one of those projects that has great ambitions, but then, with great ambitions, they got to be able to execute on their roadmap, which it's a very lofty roadmap that they have set. And so far they're a little behind, but, nothing has indicated or said to me that they're not meeting their goals. It's just a little delayed, and, they don't really reveal their finances or anything like that. But from all the sources and people I've chatted with, it seems like they have a healthy balance sheet, and they're able to keep operations going along with paying their developers and their core developers to develop a product.
Which is important. And, thanks for putting that on my radar for sure, but everyone else's too. Like, always looking for something else to be looking into and exciting projects. And with most of the cryptocurrencies that are out there, right? There's over 2,000. A lot of them are in the startup world. At the end of the day, you have this giant roadmap. You're trying to hit these thresholds, and it's going to take time. And we're still at the beginning of, the world of cryptocurrency, and it's an exciting time. But the ones that make it, the ones that build stuff that's built to last and that have real life applications, those are going to be absolute winners. And so it sounds like this potentially could be one. So thanks for putting this on our radar. But man, you've dropped an amazing amount of just knowledge on us today, Alex, and we really appreciate the time that you've been able to spend with us. But what is a final thought that you want to leave with all of our listeners today?
All right. So I just wanted to add another thought about the funding aspect and, what you hit on about, projects being able to last and push forward. Along with Tezos, the Tezos Foundation out of Zug actually released their biannual report last week, which gave a little insight into their war chest for development. And as of last week, they have about $652 million worth of crypto and fiat in their war chest for development. And so, that should kind of be a good sign for people who are interested in terms of the long-term development of Tezos. They hold 61% of that 652 million in Bitcoin, and then 15% of it in stocks and different security aspects, and then 15% of it in Tezos, and the rest in fiat. So they have a healthy war chest in development, and they're constantly developing partnerships, and they have 2 partnerships valued over $2 billion. One with this company called Elevator Returns that's going to be doing STO offerings, and then another with BTG Pactual, which is one of the largest standalone investment banks out of Latin America. So, things are definitely on the up for Tezos. But in terms of something I'll leave the speakers with is just, one of the things that I've been seeing more and more often in terms of the crypto world is that how impatient people are with projects going, the project direction and cryptocurrencies in general. And, their impatience kind of becomes more almost towards the line of trolling. And the only thing I can, say is that we are in the infant stages of, building a stadium for the game to actually be played in. And right now you're at this bottom level of the foundation is almost being finished, being built before you can actually build the stadium. And so, be patient, keep your eye out, and always definitely do your own research and figure out, what is something that might be worthwhile or not. And, in this cryptocurrency world, you kind of want to run on, if you trust someone, you better verify what they're saying through many different sources.
Absolutely. And I think that's a really great imagery to leave everyone with of just where we are. We're setting the foundation. The stadium's coming, whether you want to be at the game or not, it's coming. And the foundation's almost just about built. And now we're going to start putting up some of the, lower level bleachers, and we're just at the beginning of it. So I really like that that imagery that you painted for us. But again, Alex, thank you so much for spending some time with us today, dropping all that knowledge. And what are some different ways that people can connect with you?
All right. No problem. Thank you for having me. I'm not really big on social media, but I do write a lot on Medium, and you can find me on Medium. Especially if you look for any Tezos articles on Medium, you can find me through those. And my Medium handle is ALEXLIU1986, and you can also find me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is Cajun_Baker, and it's really just on Twitter I just post news about what's going on about the Tezos world. So, or you can reach me by email at alexliu1986@gmail.com. And I'm usually pretty punctual in returning people's questions, and, feel free to reach out to me.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Alex. And for everyone listening today, stay cryptocurrent. Hi, everyone. Thanks for listening to another episode of Cryptocurrent. For more information on this episode and all of our episodes, please visit us at www.crypto-current.co. Stay up to date with the latest news in cryptocurrency. You'll receive daily emails Monday through Friday that are personalized and curated content specific to you and your interest, powered by artificial intelligence. Are you an accredited investor looking to invest in cryptocurrency? Crescent City Capital can help. Go to crescentcitycapital.com for more information. If you're finding value in our content, please take 5 minutes to leave a 5-star review and a great comment. Also, please make sure to share this podcast with others. Hello, everyone. I hope you're enjoying the quality of this podcast. I can only thank my amazing producer, Andrew DeRitter, with DeRitter Productions, who has put this together. If you have any podcast, visual, or video needs, please go to DeritterProductions.com. That's DERITTER Productions.com.
This has been another episode of Crypto Current, bringing you one step closer to becoming a crypto and blockchain aficionado. We look forward to giving you the latest in crypto news and analyses next week. Stay crypto current.
Please use available exits now.